Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
You got much snow out there?
Oh, about a half inch. It's mostly sleet.
That's what I'm talking about. It's just like a little bit of ice. Okay, caller number 1. You don't have to put on your camera.
This is Hannah.
Okay, hey, Hannah.
Hi.
Christy, you sound like a radio DJ when you say that.
Yeah, right. Caller number 1. You on the left.
With 3, does that give us a quorum?
Yeah, it does. And Steve will not be here. So you guys can go ahead and get started if you want. I assume Susan's probably going to pop on pretty quick.
Okay. Well, I know everyone's probably got a lot going on today with all this weather stuff, or we're having up here at least. So at that, call the meeting to order.
This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Lila.
Has everyone had a chance, board members, to see the violation resumes and inactive status letters and director decisions?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion on those items?
I'll make a motion to approve the violation resumes and active status letter. And what else was there? The warning letters.
Yep.
Is that it?
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have 3 votes, so motion carries. So all those are approved. Director, would you like to give us any other updates on anything while you've got us on the call here?
Yes, I will do a quick legislative update, and then Drew is going to need to discuss one small farm wine shipping issue with y'all, which is kind of a fun issue because one of these folders that I'm going to tell you about kind of touches on that statute. Oh, there's caller number 2. That's probably Susan.
Hi.
Hi, Susan. We just voted on to approve warning letters, violation resume, and director's decisions, but I was going to give y'all a quick update on legislation.
Great.
So Drew wants to talk a little bit about small farm wine. She'll do that at the end, but one of these folders is about that statute. So if a bill passes that changes that statute, we may have to come back to y'all and be like, ignore everything that we just said. So that's what makes this fun. But instead of doing the PowerPoint and dealing with electronics, I just wanted to run through. So the first one, we had an ABW, which is essentially everybody calls it ABV. But what it had to do with was beer production. They wanted to be able, and not even really beer production, but how we classify beer. They wanted to be able to change the definition to allow the sale of beer up to 14% in grocery stores. This bill, however, failed on the House floor. I don't know. It's the end of it, of what we've seen. It was sponsored by Brown in the House, and he had a pretty good handle on things. I don't know if he would sponsor it again if it came back up, but you could expect to see a revised version of ABV. I think it depends on how well third-party and liquor store quotas go. Okay, speaking of liquor store quota, this one was the one that would allow businesses to buy up to 3 liquor stores, but they would have to be in separate counties, and it would only be the most populated counties. So that's Benton, Little Rock. What's the other one, Drew? Washington County, Benton County, and Pulaski County. Are those the 3?
Anything over 200,000.
Yes. So this one, I believe, has already made it to the floor. I know it passed at least 2 committees. So we're keeping an eye on this one. It has been looking all right for the proponents of that bill. One of these I do want to let you guys know, it's not alcohol business, but it is board business, sponsored by Unger. It is a House joint resolution which takes the power from the governor and gives it to the Senate to remove any of the board members. So It will take a 2/3 vote of the Senate, and you would only be removed for cause. I think right now the governor has that power. Hopefully we never need to see it. Y'all don't misbehave, so we should be good. But that's out there. Paid canvassers. Paid canvassers, I think, is something y'all may have heard about. It really just mirrors what they're doing in statewide elections, but this is for local option elections. So what it did was expand the criminal offenses that would prohibit somebody from being a paid canvasser. It also requires them to be a citizen of the United States. But other than that, it mirrors what we're doing statewide. So I do think it will make it a little bit more difficult for some counties to go wet if they're planning on using paid canvassers. It just has it has quite a few checklists of things you have to submit to your county clerk and XYZ. So it just makes it a little bit more stringent. And at the end, or feel free to interrupt me if y'all have questions on these too. Okay, boat excursion. This one's kind of fun for me in Little Rock. Drew and I had been approached several months ago by a company that does boat tours in Memphis, and they were wanting to bring the boat to the river in Little Rock and do like a dinner cruise. So we told them, we thought we'd seen restaurants before, but we didn't have an exact permit for them. So they decided, depending on if interpretations change, they'd rather just have it in statute. So they are adding to the train excursion permit, and they are allowing a boat permit. Funny fact, nobody has a train excursion permit. Some of y'all might have been on the board and might remember somebody lobbying for it, but nobody got it. Okay. This one might shock some people. This one is on the agenda for House Rules today.
Christy, if I can interrupt you real quick. I'm trying to recall what the Belle of Hot Springs, which permit they had, because there was a question about it years ago. And I don't remember. You might know off the top of your head which permit they're holding. I only know because Brandy, Drew, and I looked it up when we were talking about this boat thing. And I think at one point they had like a standard restaurant permit, or they went unpermitted at a period of time so that people could bring and cater on. Right now, I don't think they currently have one. Drew, do you remember?
They don't. They're not open right now. It's like banked on the side of the lake, so.
But at one point they had a standard restaurant. There was also a place I don't remember, named Gators. Keisha's giggling over there downtown. And I think they were docked, but I believe they had a restaurant mixed drink permit as well.
I think they had a private club at one point.
That's Brandy popping in. Thanks, Brandy. So yeah, this would just clear that up. Instead of like, maybe they could be a private club, maybe they could be a restaurant. If you want to do boat tours, you just get the boat excursion. It says, I think it puts limits in there, just like the train would, where if it goes through a dry county, you can't sell or serve while you're in that dry area. But I think practically, I'm no like map genius, but I think practically where this would work on the river, there's not going to be opportunity for them to go into a dry county.
They shouldn't leave Pulaski if they're doing what they planned.
At least the big one. I mean, there may be some other places in the state where they try to do it on kind of a smaller scale, but the big style dinner cruise, I really only anticipate happening. I think they called it the David O. Dodd pool, from like Big Dam to somewhere 20 minutes down the way in Little Rock and back. But that one has passed through committee, I think 2 committees, so we might see it on the floor soon. Okay, this next one I was going to get into is a bill that Pilkington has filed, and on its face, it's a little bit jarring to a lot of people. It will allow private clubs to purchase from wholesalers. It will also allow an operating agreement, which is kind of something that happens in the marijuana space. Like a management company will operate a business for someone else. It kind of contemplates that. We are working with the sponsors of this bill. I think he is aiming to help some specific individuals in a specific fact scenario. And I think in the last, 5 directors that ABC had, maybe they just need some clarity of interpretation on some things. So I'm going to work with them, but this is filed. It's on House Rules agenda today. And it's one that I think the industry will kind of work out themselves. Several people have called me and been like, whoa, what's going on? So once I think everybody discusses, this bill may or may not be amended or withdrawn. This big, thick folder is third-party delivery. This is one that Drew and I have worked with the proponents on, who are largely Walmart and Amazon. There's been lots of discussion in committee, and several people have showed up who represent smaller liquor stores as well, who are concerned about this in conjunction with liquor store quota, kind of giving Amazon and Walmart a leg up. I think there have been some changes to third-party bill that have dampened that down a little bit. One of which being an amendment to require the store that does third-party delivery to be open to the public for 30 hours a week. So this was a big concern that Walmart was going to open a warehouse and they weren't going to be able to have us in there shopping, but they were going to be able to deliver to people all day long, effectively leaving your small liquor stores without the ability to compete. So along the way, this, I think, is the third amendment on this bill since it's been filed. So I think groups of the industry are working together to try to kind of make peace on this and make it work for everybody. So with that being said, I do think it will move forward. It may be one of the ones, it's on House Rules today. So I will know more after committee today.
So if it gets through the floor today, does that mean that it's like goes to the governor next for the signature, or what's the steps on the things that are happening today if it gets past the floor?
Okay, so let me not say this wrong, because I have been learning as I go a little bit on this too. So it'll hit a committee on either side, the House and Senate, and then it will go to the floor for where it originated, I believe, but then it still has to go over to the other side. Drew's gone away on me. I thought she was about to help me out here. So then it has to be like read in formally or something like that. And then it becomes an act and then it gets signed. So I don't know how quickly all of that moves, but I do know that the legislature is planning on being in session this week despite weather. And they still have a full agenda on some of these committee rules. I don't know. It will also depend on quorum. If the Senate doesn't have a quorum on the floor, everything will stop there. And I think based on rumblings I was hearing yesterday, the House wanted to stay and work. The Senate kind of wanted to go home. There's fewer Senate members, so depending on who traveled, they may or may not be able to get through business quickly this week. Drew, did I lie about any of that process? I hope I didn't.
No, this one has to go through both committees before it can really do anything. So it's got a while until it makes it to the governor. But I do know that the excursion boats permit has already been sent to the governor. It's passed through both houses. And also the paid canvassers. Those are the two that we have in alcohol that have already been sent to the governor.
So this one is going to perk up some ears. Direct to consumer wine shipping. Director Christie and Weekend Christie feel differently about this bill. It's fine. It's something new for the state of Arkansas, right? It's something that I think is largely pushed by people who want to be able to buy bottles of wine and have them shipped to their house. Representative McKenzie and Senator Hester are working on this one. It does essentially create an exception to the 3-tier system, which would allow wineries or anyone else who sells wine in Arkansas or out of state. So that's one thing that Drew was like, a liquor store in Nashville could deliver wine. Well, if a liquor store in Nashville has a brand of wine that somebody wants that one in Arkansas doesn't have, that's the benefit to that. So I think all of y'all know previously you had to be physically present in a winery to order wine, and it was restricted to, I think, 1 case per quarter that you could have shipped back to your house. This expands that greatly. Anybody nationwide or in Arkansas could get this permit. They could ship to anyone. It does say that they cannot ship into a dry county. Practically how we enforce that could be a little bit difficult. But it does say they can't ship into a dry county. You don't have to have physical presence. And it also, I believe, is like 3 cases a year. No, 24 cases a year. So it used to be 1 case per quarter. So that was 3 cases a year. Now it's 24. So this one, I think I've already had several friends message me and they're like, oh, I can join a wine club. That sounds great. So I think this will have a lot of citizenship support. But again, like I think Alex and I were talking before the meeting officially started, some of these legislators just kind of get scared if they see alcohol on anything, or some of them just don't like it and they're going to be a no regardless. So I'm excited to see what happens with that one.
So where's that one stand as far as, has it gone through any committees yet?
No, I believe it is one of the ones that's on the agenda. It'll be in House Rules today at noon, and that's its first committee appearance. So I'll be there if my mom's car can get up the hill. So I'm excited to see what everybody says. But if not, you can always stream any of the legislative committees on the ArcLeg website. We have been keeping up with those. Y'all, it's been a lot. We're also tracking tobacco, marijuana, and gambling stuff. So shout out to my attorneys, have done a great job of reviewing those. There's also several more folders that are in the rumor phase or in the draft phase, but they have not been filed yet. So all of those I just told you about are the bills that have been filed. I expect about 8 to 10 more in alcohol to be filed. Some of those are marijuana. Do you guys want to hear about the marijuana stuff? Yes or no? I have a few of those folders here.
Are they, how far along are they? Or if it's, if they're close to, getting over the floor, then I'd say go for it. But if they're still pretty early on, then we can probably catch up by next meeting on those.
Yep, they're pretty early on. The biggest one is there's going to be some discussion about separating out a definition for paraphernalia. And the objective there is to explain that once paper is wrapped around marijuana, it no longer is paraphernalia and substance. At that point, it is a joint, which is a final processed product. So that would be the big thing that people are aiming to do, is to get towards pre-rolls, which historically they have not been able to do. So other than that, we just need to set our next board dates, and I need Drew to talk a little bit about small farm wine shipping, and then we'll let y'all go. So March 12th is the board date I have down. Are there any objectives to that day? Objections, rather?
I'm good with that.
And then April 16th. Anybody have issues with that one?
Nope.
And May 14th, which that one's, we got a little more time. So if somebody decides they need to go on vacation, just let us know. However, as y'all know, Steve Smith is retired from the board. So we are hopeful we will have somebody reappointed quickly, but we are at the mercy of governor's office timeline on that. All right, Drew, go for it.
So starting off with that, kind of segue into it. If we can have the board in June actually be the 4th Wednesday, which would be June 25th instead of the 18th, just to go with the small farm wine shipping. And this, it could change depending on the bill that's coming through that would totally delete this type of permit that we're talking about. But for now, is everybody okay with saying the board will meet June 25th? Otherwise, we'll have to meet the 18th and then possibly come back the 25th for another meeting for a drawing.
I'll be out of town on the 25th. For school athletics, the last week of June, first week of July are the only 2 you can take vacation. So I'll be out that last week of June.
How about everybody else?
I can make that work.
It works for me.
Okay.
Same.
And,
Okay, that's at least 3.
Of y'all.
Yeah.
Then-
And Drew, if we need to, with it being like a drawing, if we need to get a substitute, then
So if it ends up that we don't have more than 5 applicants for this application, we can move it back to the 18th. But I just want that to be on everybody's radar, that we would either have to do meeting the 18th, drawing the 25th, or we could just do both of them the 25th. And then we'll just figure this out as we get the applications in. Because of the timeline of this, we would know well before the June meeting. So the small farm wine shipping permit is a separate permit that you can get if you have a small farm wine manufacturing permit and the small farm wine wholesale permit. This was passed in 2017, and anybody that had those two permits at the time was allowed to apply for this permit. There are only 7 of these, and those 7 are the people that had this at the time this passed. No one else has ever asked for this. To my knowledge, granted, I've only been here for a year and a half, but no one else has this permit except for those 7 people that had it in 2017. We've since had, in the past few months, a few people ask about being able to have this permit. What this permit does is if you're manufacturing and you have that small farm wine wholesale, you can also get a small farm wine shipping permit that would allow you to ship direct to consumer. This new bill that's coming through about the wine shipping totally deletes this. I mean, it's just the whole statutes that involve this are crossed out. So this may, if that passes, this may delete, but because we have to have this on a specific timeline, that's why we're going over it now. There has to be notice, which we are giving public notice here in this meeting. It's already been posted on our website under news and announcements, and it will be run in the statewide Dim Gazette this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So what, to fit with the timelines, there's 90 days for applications to be open, and then the drawing has to happen within 120 days. So the applications will be made available starting on Friday. That's the first day of the running in the newspaper. So that's when the first applications can be given out. And then they will be open until May 22nd. If there are more than 5 applications, we will have to do a drawing. We are only allowed to issue 5 of these per year. And then what we're looking at is if there's more than 5, we do a drawing June 25th. And then those permits will be issued July 1 to start out that fiscal year. And that's about it. Does anyone have any questions?
The crux of it is kind of the words Drew didn't say. This is something we should have been doing that we weren't doing. That Drew's careful review of the statute, she was like, oh, we need to be issuing these. So if it seems like a new procedure, it is not new in statute, but it may be new to y'all. It may be something y'all haven't done before. But essentially 5 permits a year. We're supposed to be doing this drawing every year. It may or may not have been done before, but we want to get on track now. And so we will only have to do the drawing if we receive more than 5 applications.
Cool.
All good with that?
Yeah, I think that's great. Well, I think that all sounds good to me. Unless anyone has anything else for now, I think we can probably call it.
Yep. Brandy, is there anything that I missed or anything we need to tell the board about hearings next month or anything like that? Nope. She says no, according to her not speaking up. So we should be good.
Perfect. Well, at this time, I'd like to call the meeting adjourned, and thank you all for your time, and stay warm out there, and we'll hope to see you guys next month in person.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Call me if you need
Thank
anything.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
This
Thank
conference
you.
is no
Bye.
longer being recorded.